Hello from China. Let me show you the United States products in my home. Nothing. Do you have something from China in your home?
Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution.
You just heard from two Chinese TikTokers who pulled no punches in their videos about the trade war Donald Trump instigated with their country. And some of the comments that they made in those videos triggered a back and forth between them and some Trump supporters. And to say that they ended up schooling Trump supporters would be an understatement. They mopped the floor with them and gave them one of the most brutal reality checks I have ever seen in my entire life. And I've got to say, as an American, it is sad that so many Americans seemingly don't know as much about America as people who live outside of the country. Nonetheless, somebody's got to educate them, and since they're clearly not listening to any of us within the country, maybe some of these MAGA dipshits will listen to somebody with an outside perspective. They won't, but one can dream, right? Now, the main topic in question, obviously, is the tariffs. And at the time that I record this video, the percentage being imposed on China is now up to 245%. But I mean, by the time most of you see this video, it'll either be lower or higher depending on Trump's mood. But now China is giving Trump a taste of his own medicine, with officials telling reporters that they're not open to negotiations with America until the Trump administration shows some respect. And China knows that they're the ones with all of the leverage because we buy more from them than they buy from us. And even though Chinese workers who manufacture products for American companies are going to be at risk of losing their jobs, overall, China knows that we have more to lose than them. And right now, they're beating Trump at his own game. President Xi is striking deals with Malaysia and Vietnam, as well as other countries, by presenting themselves as a more stable and certain trading partner, unlike the United States. And when you consider how longtime allies like Canada, as well as European countries, are trying to economically detach themselves from us since we just can't be trusted, that's a sign that this isn't going very well for us. So Donald Trump is losing the trade war, and we all look like a bunch of fucking idiots thanks to him. But I mean, this is what a majority of the American electorate voted for, so we reap what we sow, right? Either way, the tariffs are a hot topic in China right now for obvious reasons, and Trump supporters simply refuse to accept people in other countries telling them how stupid they look. For example, in that first TikTok that we saw from Buddha Wang, where he explained how there's no American products in China, so this is obviously going to hurt us more than them, somebody actually responded to him with that comment with what I think they believed was an own, asking them, well, if Americans don't buy Chinese products, who are you going to sell them to? And his answer was priceless, because that is a very stupid question. But nonetheless, here's how he responded to that.
Rest of the world. By the way, Donald Trump already caved in. Check the news.
My God. We've talked about this before, how Americans think that America is the only country on the entire planet, and this is that mentality on full display. It's just so humiliating as an American. But of course, the commenters just couldn't take the L, which led to him dunking on them once again. And each time, you're going to see that his responses get much more ruthless. Rightfully so, by the way.
So many MAGA leave messages like, soon I will have no products from China. Yeah, that's only because soon you will have no home. Sorry, that's not funny. In China, we all have homes. Even the poorest have home, can afford fresh vegetable, meat, eggs. That's just like a basic human rights in China. And I hope you also have that basic human rights. Oh, dumbass.
Damn, that was harsh. But I mean, he's not wrong. See, in the United States, the standard of living, as well as life expectancy, continues to decline, while homelessness is on the rise. Whereas in China, life expectancy is gradually increasing, as is the standard of living, and homelessness has been significantly reduced in China. And that doesn't mean that everything is peachy keen in China, because they, of course, have their problems like all countries do. But the fact that our politicians aren't doing anything to even try to address the crises we face because they've been bought off by oligarchs and large multinational corporations is why things continue to get worse in this country. And the reason why Americans allow politicians to let things get so bad is because of the nonstop brainwashing that we are constantly subjected to, as Buddha Wang explained in this next clip. And I've got to say, that end to this clip, just wait for it.
MAGA people, you guys are really dumb. Seriously, the whole world knows you guys are dumb. Only you guys don't know about it. I'm Chinese, I'm just very straightforward. You guys are so stupid. If the lies too complicated, you guys cannot even understand. So politicians have to make the most obvious most ridiculous lies, and you guys like, oh, I get it, that makes sense. MAGA, you are so obsessed with what about this, what about that? This and that, all propaganda. Everything you know about the other country is propaganda. You live in a propaganda cage, your so-called free media controlled by same group oligarchs. And Google is super censored. Okay, I'm not saying I'm free. Nobody is totally free. We all working class, somebody manipulating us. But yours, doing you so hard, oh my God, hurts. Buy some lube from China.
My God. Let's run that back one more time so people in the back can hear what he said.
Buy some lube from China.
Goddamn. How do you respond to that? How do you keep arguing with somebody who very clearly has the upper hand and who's much more intelligent than you? Just give up. But I mean, if you go through his TikTok feed, he continues to argue with Trump supporters because to him, it's easy. He just swats them aside. They come up with some dumbass argument and he dismisses it. Sometimes he's nicer. Other times he checks them. He claps those cheeks. It's entertaining, but at the same time sad as an American because we continuously display our stupidity to people around the world and we think that we're so cute and smart, but we look like fucking idiots and we don't realize how the rest of the world sees us. I wish that Americans had more self-awareness, but we don't. Now, that wasn't the only time that Buddha Wang dropped a truth bomb on the MAGA chuds who weren't only wrong, but racist towards him, as you're going to see, because, you know, he's the one that keeps getting the last laugh. Literally, in this video, he got the last laugh.
MAGA, the Federal Reserve using dollar to exploit people all around the world. And you didn't get the benefits. You pay tax and the tax money go to war. Why you sound so proud?
I love this guy. What a king. But he's not the only Chinese TikToker who's trying to give Trump supporters a wake-up call. A Chinese man from Wuhan named Neil Zhu, who now lives in Canada, gave one of the most concise breakdowns about everything wrong with the American political system that I have ever seen. And he doesn't specifically address Trump in this video, although indirectly he's talking about Trump because he addresses the tariffs. But what he says here provokes Trump supporters for obvious reasons, which he responds to. And I'll show you his response. But first, just listen to this impeccable breakdown from him.
They rob you blind and you thank them for it. That's a tragedy. That's a scam. That's why I'm saying this right now. Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution. For decades, your government and oligarchs won't ship your job to China. Not for diplomacy, not for peace, but to exploit cheap laborers. And in the process, they hollowed out your middle class, crushed your working class, and told you to be proud while they sold your future for profit. And yes, China made money, but we used it to build roads, lift millions out of poverty, fund healthcare, raise living standard. We reinvested in our people. My family also benefited from it. What did your oligarchs do? They bought yachts, private jets, mansions with golf course driveways. They manipulate the market, dodge tax, and poured billions into endless wars. And you get stagnant wages, crippling healthcare cost, cheap dopamine, debt, and flagged wave property made in China while they pick your pocket. For 40 years, both China and the United States benefit from the trade, the manufacturing, but only one of us use that wealth to build. This isn't China's fault. This is yours. You let this happen. You let the oligarchs feed you lies while they made you fat, poor, and addicted. Now they blame China for mess they made. I don't think so. I don't think you need another tariff. You need to wake up. You need to take your country back. I think you need a revolution.
It is astonishing to me that this isn't obvious to more people. As he said, oligarchs robbed us blind, and we thank them for it. It's so sad, but unfortunately, it's true. And Americans, at some point, have got to come to terms with the fact that we let this happen to us. So many Americans believed Ronald Reagan when he told us that the wealth would trickle down to us. They were laughing all the way to the bank at our expense. So many Americans believed our imperialist wars were actually waged in the name of self-defense or for humanitarian purposes. We gobble up every lie the empire feeds us unquestioningly. And for the people who realize, oh, okay, they lied, so I should be more skeptical, they take it in the opposite direction where they become full-blown tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists and don't believe everything, even common sense things like, hey, there's a pandemic, maybe you should wear a mask. We are living in George Orwell's nightmare, and it's gotten so bad that Americans basically live in two different realities. I don't know how else to describe it, right? There's the real world, and then there's the fake world. In the real world, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, and the Supreme Court sided against him in a 9-0 decision recently. But in the la-la land that Trump supporters are trying to force the rest of us to live in, Trump won the 2020 election, and the Supreme Court sided with him in the same 9-0 decision. I mean, we make it easy for the oligarchs to rob us blind. Many of us open our wallets and let them rob us, all because we feel like we're temporarily embarrassed millionaires or something and expect ourselves to be in their shoes one day when, again, that's another piece of bullshit they fed to us. The American dream. As George Carlin put it, you have to be asleep to believe it. That's why they call it the American dream. Now, a lot of this is inevitable, to be fair to us, under a capitalist system. This is what late-stage capitalism looks like. But in all fairness, most other countries are also capitalist, and it's not as bad for them as it is for us. It doesn't have to be this bad. We don't even have healthcare, for fuck's sake. The last time there was a real push for Medicare for all during the 2020 Democratic Party primaries, Democratic presidential contenders were actually trying to convince voters that we love the private health insurance that we hate with a burning passion. I mean, this is why Neil thinks that we need a revolution, because him and every other outsider can see that our system very clearly isn't able to meet the most basic needs for Americans. But, I mean, some of Trump's supporters saw his TikTok and chimed in and told Neil, oh, well, actually, America did just have a revolution by electing Donald Trump. And he then proceeded to explain to them that Donald Trump is a con man, not a revolutionary.
He's not your revolution. I think he's still a real estate developer. If there's one thing I know about real estate developer, is that they love money. They love people who have money. And they love being around power. Let me ask you, why would someone like that work for you? You don't have the money. You don't have the power. All you had was one vote, and you already gave it to him. The vote became his stepping stone. He used it to accumulate the ultimate power. You see how he moves. His name everywhere, hotels, golf courses, restaurants, even possibly on legislations in the future. His face is on flags, t-shirts, truck, like a brand. He works like a real estate agent. He pointed a piece of land in the Middle East, and he already picturing a beachfront resort and luxury shopping district. That's how his mind works. It's not about serving the people. I don't think so. I think it's about building something with his name on it. Legacy he wants. But look, I will give him this. He's really good at marketing. He knows how to sell the images. He made you believe that he's one of you. He was going to fight for you. He's going to shake the system to his core. But in the end, I think he's just going to do what benefits him and the people in his inner circle. I get it. You voted for him because you want some change. You want someone to take down the deep states. You want a revolution. You want a real change. But all you got was a different face on the same machine. A new pen job on the same old system. Because at the end of the day, it's not about left and right. It's not about left and right. It's about which oligarchs they are working for.
That is undeniably true. And what's interesting is that this is not somebody who is particularly left-leaning or liberal. In fact, he admits in a different TikTok that he actually leans conservative on a lot of issues, and to me, he comes off as a libertarian who's more socially liberal yet fiscally conservative. And to him, his issue with the United States is that the control lies almost exclusively with large multinational corporations and not the people, which is why things are so bad, which is why he says that it's not about left-right, because he views that as more of a distraction, especially because we're all losing to the oligarchs, both on the left and the right. And he elaborated on this more in a different video and compared it to the way that it works in China, which I found interesting. And he says that the reason why things are on the up and up there and they're not here is because of who has all the power. And he explains the lowest common denominator is the large multinational corporations.
I can see the difference. In China, the government has a grip on the corporations. Well, they follow the Chinese rule. But in the States, it seems the corporation controls the government. the lobbyist controls the senator and the Congress. So with one party, the tension, the social antagonism is between the people and the government. But in the States, it's about left and right, the neighbors fighting neighbors, families split over politics. The divisions, that is, I think is a distraction, because while you are arguing with each other, the people really in power, they're behind the scene, right? They stay winning. You have to look beyond and past left and right, because that's how they control you.
Now, what he said there was interesting to me, but I don't necessarily agree entirely. The left-right dynamic, as it relates in the United States, really is about competing visions for the future. So I think it does matter. I don't think that it's a non-issue, even though I understand the point that he's making. But the reason why I think it matters is because, as a leftist, I want us to be an empathetic country where everyone has healthcare and housing and a job and the freedom to express themselves. Whereas the right, they oppose all of those things, and they want to restrict freedom, and they want to take us back to a time when white men were at the tippy top of the social hierarchy and everyone else was on the bottom or just an afterthought. Now, with that being said, his overarching point is that our ideological disagreements are effectively a distraction because they are meaningless in this climate. They're useful to the oligarchs because while we're fighting each other, oligarchs are robbing us blind. And I get that point. He's right about that. But there's a reason why capitalism always devolves into fascism. It's because as things get worse, fascism becomes a useful tool for reinforcing that capitalist system that's dying. The scapegoating of marginalized groups and immigrants and whatnot becomes more of a necessity to elites because they don't want people to become class conscious and start pointing the finger at them. So that's why fascists begin to target socialists and communists, as they're doing now, because those people are the ones that pose the biggest threat to the capital class. They're the ones who are trying to shake people out of the trance that they're in, so they wake up and realize that they're focused on the wrong 1%, as Laverne Cox put it. But I want to talk about one last Chinese TikToker who gives us a summary of how the entire country right now feels about the trade war.
We don't care. China's been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will just deal with the situation without the United States. This is said by a Chinese representative, and his reply has won the hearts of millions of Chinese people. It shows how many Chinese people feel about those tariffs. We won't back down. We won't kiss Trump's ass, as he says.
Kissing my ass.
But as an ordinary Chinese, how do I feel? I hate war of any kinds. The future is uncertain now, and that scares me. Because in the end, wars like this don't have winners, just everyday people paying the price. I read about some American small business owners who just ordered lots of goods from China, now panicking and feeling helpless over 145% of tariffs. I've got friends here in China who will lose their jobs tomorrow because their companies are many doing business with Americans. Everything is happening so fast. People don't even have time to react. It breaks my heart. Ordinary people just trying to get by shouldn't suffer because of this politics. And to the Americans, my anger isn't with you. I don't want wars between us. Our governments might fight, but let us workers, students, parents, keep talking, keep sharing stories, keep remembering that time we loved together, traded recipes, exchanged cultural differences, or cheer the same song or dance. Bye-bye, see you next time.
I absolutely adore her, and I appreciate how mindful she is of the common struggle workers around the world have. And if Trump thought that these tariffs were going to weaken China, I think that her TikTok demonstrates that it only made them stronger, not just internationally with other countries coming to them for trade, but domestically as millions of Chinese citizens rally around their country because they feel like they're being unfairly attacked by the Trump administration and they don't appreciate the way that Trump and his cronies denigrate China. And on that note, she did respond to some comments that JD Vance made about Chinese peasants, and I want to leave you with her video because it provides us with some much needed levity, which is appreciated during uncertain times like this. So without further ado, here's her funny yet wholesome response to JD Vance. And I think that this is a microcosm of how a lot of Chinese citizens think of our dumbass politicians. They think that they're silly and to be made fun of. So here you go.
We borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
It's your Chinese peasant, Lisa speaking. Eyeliner guy, take these. Don't forget to say thank you to us for making eyeliner and Trump's orange foundation.